I wonder what the word Easter conjures up in your mind. Maybe it's cute white rabbits in a field, or a lovely bunch of daffodils in a vase, or children on Easter egg hunt. For some of us, we might just be relieved that the cold, dark nights are behind us. Or is Easter another reminder of loved ones missing from our celebrations? But I wonder if you've ever imagined what it was like for God that first Easter. I wonder if any of us have ever stopped to consider what Easter cost Jesus to go to the cross 2,000 years ago. Maybe we don't like to consider what really happened at the cross. I think most of us know that Jesus died, but do we understand why? Or do we even stop to think about his suffering? If we're honest, we hate suffering. We go to extreme lengths to avoid or limit suffering in our lives. Somewhere deep within our humanity, we know that suffering is wrong. We know that somewhere, somehow, this life should reflect God's goodness rather than the brokenness and darkness that suffering brings. Whether we come to church or not, there are times in our lives when the thought of suffering causes us to question the goodness of God. Do we blame God? Whose fault is it anyway when life gets too hard to handle? Let me share with you the night before Jesus went to the cross, which might help us understand suffering from God's point of view. When Jesus came to the Mount of Olives, the place of his death, we are told in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 22, verses 41 to 44. Jesus knelt down and prayed, saying, "Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will but yours be done." And there appeared to him an angel from heaven, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. Does this surprise you that Jesus' fear caused his sweat to be like blood? That in the garden he was in emotional agony way before he was nailed to the cross. Jesus wasn't surprised that this was his time to give up his life. After all, he had spent 3 years preparing the disciples to look towards a time prepared for him to die. Jesus and God the Father always planned this. They always knew what it would cost them to rescue humanity, even before humanity was created. Why did he go ahead with it? In the words of the popular shampoo commercial, because we're worth it. We are worth the cost, not because there is something in us that is lovable. After all, our natural bent is to be against God. That is why our go-to is to blame him and not to trust him. Why are we worth it? Because we already belong to God. Jesus was willing to face the most horrendous suffering to buy us back, so our relationship with our Father in heaven can be restored. So if he is willing to die, why the fear? Why did Jesus plead with God for the cup to pass by him? In other words, Father, please let me know if there's any other way to rescue humanity. It may surprise you what was tormenting Jesus in the garden the night before his crucifixion. What was it he wanted to avoid that would bring him the worst pain imaginable? It wasn't the physical pain of his skin being stripped away. It wasn't the name calling and ridicule. It wasn't even the separation from his family and friends. Even though in his humanity, his physical suffering would be the most brutal assault on his body. However, Jesus was about to face something worse than physical pain. He was about to face his worst nightmare. Separation from God the Father. Jesus was willing to face this separation on our behalf, so that instead of us being separated from God, we can be bought back for him because we are his treasured possession. God created us because he loves us. He created us to be in relationship with him. He created us with a place to live and to belong. He created us to find our identity and satisfaction from our relationship with him. We are the fruit of the loving relationship between Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We have no idea how awful separation from God is because we have never experienced true separation from him. God pours out his provision on all people, whether they follow Jesus or not. We may complain about all that God doesn't do for us, while ignoring or not noticing everything he does do. It shouldn't be the suffering in a broken world that should surprise us, but that's God's goodness, love, and kindness can actually be seen despite the darkness. The miracle we can see every day if we have eyes to see is to notice God's goodness in the world, the ability to see the light in the darkness. What Jesus experienced is complete darkness, complete separation from God. Never before and never again will the Trinity be separated. This one moment in time achieved two things: the rescue of humanity from its own sin and the destruction of the devil. Jesus used death to destroy death. He used the weakness of his humanity, not the strength and power of his divinity. Jesus shows us in this moment in the garden, before he went to the cross, that hell is real, because hell is life without God. The greatest place of suffering is to be without God, to be isolated from him and one another, which we got a glimpse of during COVID. This is why Jesus died on the cross, to bring us back, not just to God the Father, but into a good relationship with one another. Jesus suffered at the cross on our behalf to pay the price of our rejection of God. Because of Jesus' suffering, our eternal future is guaranteed to have no more suffering, no more fear, no more death. Why? Because he is alive and overcame death itself. What a wonderful gift. This Easter, let us allow the chocolate and daffodils to cause us to wonder at God's provision of Jesus, that it's through his suffering we are given freedom from sin and given new life to live with him forever. And if you find yourself in a place where you feel surrounded by darkness, do what Jesus did in the garden and at the cross. Cry out to your Father in heaven in the anguish of your suffering, and his peace will surround you as you come to know and accept that Jesus paid the full payment for your sin. For he chose to suffer instead of you, because you are worth it as God's treasured possession. Are you ready to take a step towards Jesus today? Please get in touch through my blog livingisword.life or Passion for Evangelism. We'd love to help you discover the next steps to understanding all that Jesus accomplished that first Easter weekend. Happy Easter.